Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rewilding Wellness Wednesdays. I am Dr. Christy Vanacore. I'm thrilled that you're here. I know some of you are with me live. Many of you are going to be watching the replay. Either way, welcome to my community. As some of you know, I put these weekly events together in order to create a safe space, a community in which we can talk about all things health and wellness openly, freely, engaging in conscious conversation, because it does take a village. So I'm thrilled to have you all here. My work, for those of you who are new to me, my work involves an integration of mind, body, and spirit. It's grounded in the understanding that we are all healing through frequency, embodiment, cellular recalibration, and that health and wellness happens at the intersection of science and soul. I am here as a medicine woman to help you remember who you are, remembering your roots, rekindling your instincts, reclaiming your sovereignty so you can activate your inner physician and your self-healing capacities. That's a little bit about who I am and what I do. Tonight's topic is near and dear to me. I know I say that every week, but this topic is really important. And it was inspired by a blog post that I wrote earlier this week. Check it out on my Facebook page. It's called Skin Spell. And so many of you, women and men alike, got in touch with me to say how much that post inspired you because you didn't even realize how at war with your body you've been, how disconnected and detached from your body, how in shame that you've been in your body, and that this post helped you realize it and made you want to say, hey, I want to do something about this. I don't want to be at war with my body anymore. So tonight's episode is all about, I call it the sacred return, how to come home to your body. What does it really mean to come home to your body and to be an embodied being? We're going to explore what this idea of being embodied means beyond yoga poses, beyond all the somatic lingo that is hot and trendy in the world right now. We're going to really dive in so that you understand that your body is not a project to fix. It is a sacred being to remember. It is a sacred being to honor, to reclaim. So we're going to explore all of this tonight. For years, I lived kind of floating outside of my body, detached, disconnected. I wore shame like a second skin, and survival was my armor. That was my relationship with my body. Learning to feel again at home in my body, learning to listen to my body's communications, learning how to be the embodiment of love and to have love for myself saved my life. So I'm here tonight to talk about this. So tonight we're going to discuss how trauma and cultural conditioning and dissociation keeps us estranged from ourselves, right? And how returning fully and reverently is the most radical spiritual act that we could ever embark on. So we're going to do this together. So we're going to explore so many things tonight. This culture that we're living in that teaches us to hustle for everything, right? We're living in hustle culture right now. And basically, we treat our bodies in that same way, right? We hustle to heal, right? Everything is about how can I help myself hard and fast? How many hours can I put into the gym? How rigid and strict can I be with a diet, right? How badly can I hate myself and bully myself into changing? Okay, this is the culture that we're living in. Okay, and whether you realize it or not, you're absorbing it. It's like absorbing it into your skin because it's in the air around us. This is what's percolating around us, and we take that all in. Okay, so tonight we're going to be addressing head on some of the myths that we've been told, like to control your body is how you care for it. To be really disciplined means you have to punish yourself. To be beautiful, you have to suffer, right? All of these are myths. All of these keep people feeling numb, unworthy, and in an internal war. with yourself. Okay, so we're going to dispel some of those myths tonight because your body is not here to be trendy. This isn't about taking before and after pictures. Okay, you're not a project to fix. You're a sacred, sovereign, divine being. Okay, so hopefully by the end of tonight, you're going to begin to realize that. And you're going to begin to learn how you can practice embodying that in your day-to-day life, not just on a fancy yoga retreat. You only need you, and you only need this beautiful sacred body that you get to live in every day. So I'm hoping that by the end of this tonight, you will be so inspired to love and honor yourself. It really is a game changer. So let's start by talking about some of the myths that are out there surrounding the body. So the first myth, and as I'm saying these myths out loud, whether you are watching this live with me or whether you are on the replay, maybe jot down, I always tell people, if you have a little journal, keep a journal with you, keep a little notebook, maybe jot down some things that come up for you. So as I go through these myths, check in with yourself, ask yourself how this myth lands on you. Is this something that you have internalized and that you struggle to work against? So the first myth is that your body is a problem to fix. And I know I've said that a few times already tonight. Your body is not a problem to fix. Your body is this sacred portal, okay? And it is woven of this divine intelligence. Your body is miraculous. Your body has everything it needs to take care of itself. It is brilliant. All we need to do is support it, okay? So your body is not broken, but it is begging to be loved. So when you're experiencing symptoms, and those of you out there who've worked with me, you know that symptoms, as I explain them and as they are signposts, they're communications. Okay, so when you're experiencing anything in the body, whether it be, let's say, excess weight, for example, that's a big one that I work with people on, one that I've struggled with myself. Okay, your body is trying to communicate something with you. So it's not broken, it's begging for your attention. Okay, and not attention that's going to berate it and beat it up. Loving attunement, almost like if we were holding a baby in our arms, right? We stroke the baby, like, I'm here for you, baby. I'm here for you with love. That's what our body is begging for, okay? So all the ancient ones called our human body as the divine bridge between earth and sky. It is divine. Okay, so your body also holds the imprints of every life experience that you've ever had. It's truly magnificent, not broken, but begging. Okay, so play with that, write that down. What does that mean to you to hear that your body has been begging for your attention and your loving attunement? Yeah, sit with that one. Next myth is that in order to be healthy and well and on a path of health and wellness, you've got to be in a state of like strict discipline that involves deprivation. Okay, and I'm going to use weight as another example here. I cannot tell you how many years I struggled with this, and so many people I work with do as well, where we think, okay, to be at a healthy weight, I've got to deprive myself. Calories in, calories out, and lower your calories, increase your exercise. We hear all of this brainwashing, right? Deprivation is not the pathway to wellness at all. Wellness is about nourishment, not punishment. By the way, everything that I'm saying here, these are not just my hokey ideas. This is science. Again, this is bioquantum wellness. This is quantum physics. Okay, this is science based on the way our multidimensional beings function. Okay, so nourishment, not punishment. Okay, true vitality of our system being in a state of ease, being in a state of flow, being in a state of true health and wellness, feeling alive, feeling healthy, only can happen when we're living according to our body's natural rhythms and cycles, not when we're overriding them. Okay? Do you know how many years I would wake up in the morning starving for food? But I told myself, oh no, I've got to do intermittent fasting. I can't eat till 2 o'clock this afternoon. Right? Do you know how many times I needed to use the bathroom and held it in because I'm like, oh no, I can't interrupt what I'm doing. When we override what our body needs and wants, we separate, detach, and disconnect from ourselves. That is the path to sickness, not the path to wellness. Okay? When we're eating according to a structured plan that somebody else gives us, instead of tuning in and eating intuitively and asking our beautiful body what it wants, we are betraying ourselves. That's the fast track to sickness. Okay? Third myth, I'll be worthy once I hit this goal weight or size or shape, or once things change in my life. Oh my gosh, if I had a penny for the number of times I hear this in a day from clients, but also these are words that I used to speak to. Okay? The truth is that our worth as people, it's inherent. We are worthy simply because we are alive, because we are, period. No number on a scale, no size on the tag on our pants, no metrics of achievement determines our worth, right? Embodiment is all about being present right here, right now, honoring who we are in any given moment. Okay. And that doesn't mean, whenever I say that to people, I get a lot of pushback. And people say, well, yeah, but what if we want to get better? What if we're motivated to be healthier and well? What if we're overweight and we know we need to lose weight? What if we're diabetic and we need to cut down sugar? That's all well and great. That's all well and good. But what energy is what's energizing your actions? What energy is motivating your actions to do it? If you're doing it because you don't feel worthy and you're doing it because you hate yourself, or you're doing it because you need to impress somebody else, or you're doing it because you don't feel you belong, all of those things meaning that you're in fear, then those are the wrong reasons, right? That is not the energy that actually moves the dial. That is not the energy that brings us into a state of health and wellness. Being in a state of health and wellness is about coherence, alignment internally. When we're overriding our cycles, when we're determining our worth based on our work, that's all betrayal. Fast track to sickness, fast track to total disconnection from our body. Our body cannot trust us when we're constantly feeding the narrative that it's not good enough, that it's broken. It will behave that way. The next myth, sensuality, sexuality is dangerous and shameful. I had to talk about this one here because so much of the trauma and drama that both men and women are experiencing with their bodies has to do with sexuality. Now, I plan to do an entire episode on this at some point. But for now, what I'll say is that sexuality, sensuality, the two are different. These are sacred. This is the language that your soul speaks through sensation, right? Through touch, reclaiming our sensuality as a man or a woman. Okay, it's part of our natural rhythm. It's part of our raw primal selves. And when we've been made to feel shame for it, not only do we turn off that part of ourselves, but those parts of ourselves harden with shame and guilt. And that eats away at us. Shame has been referred to as the demon of the body. Okay, so we need to absolve ourselves of that shame and guilt and recognize that we are sexual, sensual beings. And that's part of our vitality. Okay. So sit with those myths. Again, if you're joining me live, hopefully you're jotting some things down. If you're watching this on the replay, jot some things down, sit with those myths, see how they've been a part of your life. I want to dive in now to why we leave the body. Okay, and some of these reasons may be obvious and some may not be. So the first reason that we leave the body is trauma. Okay, trauma, and many of you know I teach about trauma a lot. I talk about trauma a lot. Trauma creates a fundamental separation within us. Okay, trauma is not the thing that happens to us. Okay, it's what has happened inside of us as a result of the experience that happened to us. Okay, that's what trauma is. Trauma creates a fundamental separation inside of us. Okay, that disconnects us from our truth. So when we're dealing with trauma, when we're dealing with shame, a few minutes ago I mentioned shame as the demon of the body. Okay, shame literally shuts off our life force. Okay, chronic stress, constantly being in endless states of flight or fight, running on fumes of survival, completely turns off the body. Okay, because the body cannot feel safe. Okay, so first and foremost, we've got to come back to a sense of safety in our bodies. That survival mode, when we are in survival mode for a long time, many of you know I refer to this as functional freeze. Okay, I write about this in my upcoming book, Rewilding Wellness, Rooted Wisdom to Rise Well, coming out soon. I talk about being functionally frozen, almost like being in this paralyzed state of the nervous system because your body is in this shocked survival mode, yet you're able to keep going and keep functioning. Okay, but that survival mode fundamentally disconnects us from any capability of feeling. So sensation is turned off, pleasure is turned off, our intuition and our instincts are turned off. That is why we go numb. Okay, survival mode makes us numb, especially when we're in that mode for an extended period of time. Okay, many of us also have learned, and this certainly was my story, many of us have learned to leave our bodies because it wasn't safe to be there, right? Our survival instincts kicked in and made it such that the sight of pain in the body we were supposed to turn off from, we're supposed to disconnect from. So that's what we do. It's all we know, right? It's easier to go up into the head and get caught in a loop, in a spiral of thoughts and overthinking. That feels safer for most people than being in the body. Okay, so these are some of the main reasons why we completely leave ourselves and tune out and shut down and really struggle to be in right relationship with our bodies. Okay, in a bit, I'm going to be sharing some practices with you on how to return to the body. Okay, so the nervous system also affects embodiment, as I alluded to a few minutes ago, right? When we're stuck in flight, fight, or freeze, we lose access to sensation, to flow, to joy, to pleasure, right? Healing is all about creating safety in the bottom through our breath, through sound, through movement, through stillness, being with our body in a different way so that we're not just wired for protection, we're wired for presence. So safety is first and foremost what is needed to be living in our bodies in a truly authentic way, right? Another thing that causes us to leave ourselves and really fractures our relationship with ourselves is what I call the cultural hijack. Our bodies are hijacked by a system that only knows how to shame us. Again, for everything from sexuality and sensuality, we're shamed for our bodies, right? We're taught to suppress emotion, that we can't overreact or be too much of something. So we're constantly taught to push down, shove away, suppress, right? Like, go away. That's what we're cultured to do. And so we turn off from ourselves. Okay. By the way, this is men and women alike. Men and women alike. So all of these things really, really fracture our relationships with ourselves. I want to go through, I'm just hesitating because I'm thinking about the flow of this. I want to go through some practices with you guys because I think that's important. But I want to say something here for a couple of moments about this idea of hating yourself into healing. Because again, this is another thing that we're all conditioned to do right now. You know, it's really in the world is that we need to be punished all the time. So I had a client a couple of weeks ago who came in and he was sharing that he goes to the gym 3 hours a day. And, you know, my initial thought was that that was pretty excessive, but, you know, I wasn't going to judge him, obviously, but I did want to understand, like, 3 hours at the gym, you know, is pretty long time. And we know that the research on exercise shows that, you know, anything over a certain amount of time actually is not only is it not effective, but it's actually counterproductive because it's your body staying in a stress state for an extended period of time. Cortisol is jacked, adrenaline's jacked, and your body thinks you're in danger. Anyway, I really want to understand why this man was in the gym for 3 hours a day. And he finally said, you know, I live my whole life by that old adage, no pain, no gain. Right? And that certainly is an old adage that so much of our culture is predicated on, right? Like if you're not hustling hard and busting your ass hard, why bother? Right? That if it's not hard, it's not worth it. If you didn't have to hustle to get it, it's not valuable. Right? And this health and wellness culture that we're in right now is predicated upon that. So this diet culture that is so body obsessed, that fuels this over exercising, right? These are not acts of self-love. This is all punishment. This is all punishment. So what I realized for this man and what I talked with him about was that being in the gym 3 hours a day wasn't actually a commendable feat of wellness based on self-love. No, it was actually all of his trauma responses wrapped up in the neat little package. And not only was it wrapped in a neat package, but this package was socially acceptable. Right? Because it's actually quite socially acceptable and even commendable to tell people that you were in the gym for 3 hours. Right? But we don't want to talk about the other stuff. We don't want to talk about the wounding that is underneath that is energizing those efforts. Okay. Now, look, I'm not saying don't work out. I'm not saying don't go to the gym. I'm not saying do 2 more reps if you can. I'm not saying any of those things. Okay. But what I am saying is these things have to be motivated by love, not fear, not by insecurity, inadequacy, shame, not needing to prove your worth. not needing to beat yourself and bully yourself into submission, that actually creates more harm in the body. Interestingly enough, this gentleman who was telling me that he was in the gym 3 hours a day also said to me that he's not getting the results that he thinks he should. That he doesn't have, the biceps that he wants, that his core is still weak. These were his words. Okay. So we had to face the truth here that healing can't happen from this hustling. Healing can't happen when we hate ourselves. He was pushing himself, hating on himself. He said that he purposely did his workouts in the room with the walls that had full mirrors, so he could look at how horrible he looked. These are his words. So he could hate on himself enough to motivate himself to do better. Right? It doesn't work. Now he said to me, well, Christy, yes, it does work. Because when I feel like leaving after 2 hours, I look in the mirror, I call myself a fat slob, and then I stay an extra hour. And I said, okay, but it's not sustainable. Energetically, it's not sustainable. We cannot manifest from the energy of fear, which is the lowest, dense, heaviest frequency that there is. So here he is with the goal of wanting to be lighter, losing weight. And yet he is doing this with the energy of fear, which is the heaviest energy. So his body's not going to change, right? His body's not going to change. When we engage in this process of self-loathing, and again, I did this for years. Okay? It creates this feedback loop in the system. One in which cortisol stays amped up, nervous system stays dysregulated, emotionally we're fragmented. So now physically in the body, because energetically we're in that fragmented place, now physically in the body, we're dealing with things like chronic inflammation, chronic fatigue and exhaustion, detachment, disconnection, dissociation, derealization, whatever word you want to use for it, numbing, right? We cannot hate ourselves into healing. Doesn't work. Healing can only begin when we meet the body with reverence, a really deep honoring, reverence, not rules. No. Your body doesn't want to be punished. It wants to be protected. That's the game changer. I want to say something else now about weight. And I know it might sound like I'm emphasizing weight a lot this evening, but it is a very popular topic in the world of health and wellness. The diet culture is the number one researched topic. It's the number one thing written about. So diet culture is real. And I don't care what size you are, I don't care how much you love yourself or not, we're all affected by it. We all hear it, we all see it. I want to say something about weight. That weight isn't just physical. Okay. In fact, and again, if you've watched my previous episodes, if you've worked with me in any way, you know that nothing begins physical. It all begins energetically. It all begins in the biofields, and then it translates into something in the physical form. Okay, so it starts that way. It starts as energy, and then it takes form and impacts the form of your body. So many people come to me, and again, this was my story too. So many people come to me desperate to lose weight. I've tried everything. I've done all the diets. I've done the cleanses. I've done the programs. I've done this. I've spent thousands of dollars on all the programs. I've starved myself. I fasted. I did all the things. And I'm still carrying extra weight. And what I respectfully say to them, which is what I had to respectfully say to myself at one point, in the past was we carry the emotional weight of shame, of guilt, all the unprocessed trauma, all the stored and sequestered emotions that are imprinted in our cells, muscles, joints, tissues. That is weight. That is weight. So you can be on this diet, that diet, you could do all the things. But if you are carrying the weight of memories and heartbreak and guilt and shame and pain and grief, and you are not actively working on feeling that, experiencing it, and then releasing it, your weight doesn't change. In fact, goes up, goes up. So this man who I mentioned, who's in the gym 3 hours, gaining weight, right? Well, but I eat healthy, Christy, in the gym 3 hours, and then I go to the juice bar in the lobby and I get a juice. I don't eat sugar. I cut everything out. Then I come home at night and I have 4 ounces of grilled fish with, 6 ounces of raw vegetables. None of it matters. None of it matters. If we are trying to shed weight without considering these other layers, these other dimensions where the body is tightening, holding, and resisting, you're going to lose a pound. And you're going to grow increasingly frustrated. And you're going to then go into that whole narrative of, see, my body must be broken. And then you'll go see a traditional doctor who will tell you, yeah, your body's broken. You need to start injecting yourself with things. You need to start taking all these pills. You need to starve yourself. No, no. Again, you guys know I'm not anti anything, but I am positively pro root cause. Let's get to the root. Let's heal the root. Okay. So we can't bully ourselves into healing. We can't blame and beat ourselves into submission, nor can we expect our body to shed the physical weight if we are not willing to shed the energetic and emotional weight that we're carrying. Right? And we want to release it, not with cruelty, not with berating ourselves. We want to shed it with love and compassion. That is the only energy that our body truly responds to be healthy and well. Your body will respond to the critiquing and the blaming and the shaming, but it will respond with disease. Your body responds with health and vitality and wellness when it is given love. Right? So I want to talk for a moment about some practices that you can do in the everyday. So if you are watching this and you work with me, you know that we do a lot of body work practices around embodiment, loving your body, coming home to your body, seeing the divinity. Earth, my body, water, my blood, air, my breath, fire, my spirit. We are all the elements dancing together. That is what we are. We forget, but there are practices that will help us remember again. Okay? So I want to go through some of these practices, just checking in to see if anybody has any questions so far live. No? Okay. Again, I know some weeks, some audiences are really vocal and verbal, and other weeks it's really quiet. It's all okay. It's all welcome here. It's all okay. So I want to talk about some of these embodiment practices. Okay, some of these are really basic. Some of these are really basic. It doesn't take much to come home to your body. It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay, so some of the ways that we can come home to our body involve using our breath, just breathing deep inhalations through the nose exhaling, placing a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly, inhaling and exhaling, and paying attention to the ebb and flow of the breath, paying attention to the rise and fall of your chest and your belly as you breathe. That's an embodiment practice. That's an embodiment practice. Okay. Some of the most subtle ways that we can do this. Pay attention as you're chewing your food. I know, sounds crazy, okay? But how many of you watching this can honestly say that you eat mindfully, that you eat a piece of fruit really slowly, really sensually, meaning that you are tapped into the sensations of the fruit, both in your fingers, smelling it, putting it in your mouth, savoring it as though it was an experience. No, most of us are popping the blueberries, popping the food. So many people are eating in the car as they drive. So many people are eating in front of their computer screens while they work. Right? So we're not savoring. So savoring and making eating a sensual experience is a very basic yet powerful and profound way to come back to the body. Okay? Dressing. Okay, now when I talk about dressing, notice I'm touching. We have got to dress in fabrics that feel good to our body. Make it a sensory experience. Fabrics that feel good. Fabrics that feel really delicious on your skin as opposed to looking good. Some of you know this, I've talked about this before, that I no longer wear yoga pants, spandex type what is now in modern times considered traditional yoga pants. I don't wear them anymore. I don't wear them anymore. And the reason for that is that the spandex or the lycra is so tight and form-fitting that it not only squeezes in your body, which is why some people love them, because they say, oh, this is going to squeeze me in and it'll hide all of my fat or all of my whatever. But it's also suffocating your lymphatic system, so that your lymphatic system, which is your body's basic drainage system, and your circulation system, which is responsible for filtering and sending blood and oxygen where it needs to go, can't work effectively when it's being sucked and siphoned. Okay, not to mention this doesn't feel good to have this waistband like pushing into my belly, to have my legs like sucked in like a vacuum. Doesn't feel good. So I don't do it. It's just that simple. I'm wearing flowing clothes, right? Clothes that move with my body, soft linen or, even a soft cotton, right? That allows my body to move freely. That is silky on my skin. You guys can't see these like really loose, flowy, very sensual pants, okay? Sensing, keeping me connected to the juicy sensation of the body. Okay, so be mindful of dressing for your senses. It's not just about looking good. It's how you feel. You will look better when you feel better. Okay, you'll feel more confident. You'll feel alive, right? You'll feel sensual. You'll feel sexual when you're feeling more in your body. Okay, so touch. Let's talk about touch for a minute. And that raises eyebrows sometimes. I tell people, touch yourself. They're like, oh my God, what? What is she saying? Again, the episode on sexuality is coming soon. It needs to. What I mean by touch right now, it's touching without agenda, okay? Taking a few minutes to actually just touch your arms, right? Just like feeling your skin, feeling your fingers. Notice that my eyes just automatically close, touching your face, right? Touching your hair, right? Touching your legs. No agenda. It's not sexual in nature. It's sensual. right? Touch your belly. The belly is such an area of shame for men and women alike. Touch your belly, touch your belly, touch your thighs, right? Remember earlier I used the metaphor of holding the baby and rubbing the baby. That is what your body is begging for. Honor yourself. I'm here, body. You are a beautiful sacred vessel. I honor you. That's the start. That's the start. Okay. You can create mantras that you can use anytime or while you're touching your body sacredly, like, I'm home in my body. Body, you are safe, or I'm here for you, or I'm moving you with grace. Okay, mantras are really powerful. At certain points in the day, another thing I love to do is I just bring my hands to my body. I place one hand on my chest, one hand on my belly. Other times I place a hand on my chest and a hand on my forehead. Other times I do a hand on my chest or a hand on the back of my neck. And I check in with my body and I say, what part of you, dear body, needs love right now? What part of you is begging for me to tune into her? What do you need? How can I give it to you? Right? As if you had a child whose needs you don't want to neglect. Like, baby, what do you need from me? Baby, what do you need from me? I'm here to give it to you. Right? Notice that some of these practices I'm giving you, they don't require anything. You don't need a playlist. You don't need to go to a yoga class. You don't need anything. It's just about tuning in differently. It's about paying attention, seeing that your body is so beautiful and brilliant, just as it is, right here, right now. Instead of saying, well, I'll love up on my body when I'm 10 pounds lighter. Love up on it now. It's begging for that love, begging. So I'm giving you guys practices that are so, may seem so maybe insignificant or silly or small, but these are the ones that pack the most punch, because it's in these everyday moments that you can have these beautiful, sacred experiences with your body. Another beautiful thing to do, and you guys know I preach about this all the time, get outside, get barefoot in the grass. Hell, get naked in the grass. I know that might be a little bit too much for some of you to start. No judgment on that. But at least get barefoot. Get your feet in the dirt. Get your feet in the dirt. Tune into your senses as you're walking. Notice, what am I feeling in my feet? What sense am I taking in? What's coming in through my nose as I'm outside? What am I feeling on my skin? Can I feel the warmth? Can I feel the sun? Can I feel the breeze? Right? Where do I feel tension? And where do I feel pleasure? Right? Really powerful. As you're moving in this way, grounding into the earth, thank your body. Thank you, feet. Thank you, legs. Thank you, lungs. Thank you, arms. Again, these things may sound cheesy to you, but when your system has been locked and loaded in fight or flight for so long, again, your body is begging for this. If you've got any symptom in your body right now, everything from tightness in your neck or your back, to tightness in your hips, to pain anywhere in your body, to digestive illnesses, to TMJ and issues with your jaw, to migraine headaches. Okay, the list can go on. All of these symptoms are the way that your body is begging to be revered. Okay, the way that your body is begging for you to give it love and attunement and attention. That's what it needs more than anything. Okay, so these are some practices that you can do. You can find a quiet place, close your eyes, tune into your body. I'm home, body. I'm safe. I'm here with you. I feel the earth beneath me. I feel the sky above me. We are safe. Okay. That's a beautiful example of something that you can do. You can also do that and then listen to your body and give your body permission to move. Maybe your body wants to sway slowly from side to side. Maybe it wants to move forward and back. Maybe it wants your hips to circle. Maybe it wants your arms to flow in the air. Maybe it wants your fingers to move, right? Maybe it wants your head and your neck to rotate. Do it. Give yourself permission to allow your body the freedom of its expression and whisper to yourself as you're doing it, I am safe. I am home in my body. Really very powerful. So I hope that this, if anything, is a little introduction, a little reminder that you don't have to be at war with your body in order to get healthy and well. In fact, being at war with your body prevents you from getting healthy and well. Right? I hope that you've learned from this that your worth can't be earned by shrinking yourself or making yourself bigger. Your worth is inherent, just as you are right here, right now. I hope that you learned that you're allowed to soften, get sensual as the pathway to healing. It doesn't have to be hard and fast. And in fact, hard and fast gets you unhealthy, right? Gets you more into a state of contraction. So healing is all about tuning into the body. It's this radical rebellious act. Go against the grain, whereas everybody else is hating on themselves. Love on yourself. Love on yourself. Radical, sacred self-devotion. That is the greatest act of self-care that you can make. Learning how to be in your body without shame, without guilt, being full on activated, like here I am, radiating truth, beauty, and love. That's who you came here to be. You didn't come here to be anything less. You didn't come here to hustle and make everything hard. It doesn't work that way. You can't shame yourself into healing. You can't bully yourself into getting better. It doesn't work that way. Meet yourself with love is the game changer. So I hope that you all got something out of this tonight. I know I certainly did. Even though I'm teaching it, it's always a reminder that I need to practice it. If you haven't already done so, check out my blog, where I write a lot about this just this week. Very powerful. Reach out to me with questions. Reach out with comments. I'm here to guide your journey back home to yourself. You guys, so many of you come to see me because you want to improve your relationships with your spouses or your significant others. Many of you come to me because you want to improve your sex life with your significant other. Many of you come to me because you want to feel attractive to your significant other. In other words, you want your significant other to be more attracted to you. Some people come to me because they want to see their significant other as more attractive. Here's the thing you need to know. All of that begins with you. All of that is an inside job. Okay? The way that we radiate, what is attraction? It's like energy. It's energy like attracts like. If you're down in the depths of fear and shame and guilt, you're vibrating at such a low frequency, that's what you're going to manifest. That's not love. That's not secret anything. but vibrate from a place of love and self-trust and gratitude and joy and compassion. Now we're talking. Now you can be turned on. Now you've got something to radiate. Now you can be attractive. So your relationship with another person is only going to be as healthy as your relationship with yourself. And that starts with your body as a sacred vessel. Okay? So I hope this was so helpful. Reach out to me with any questions that you have. I'm here to guide your rewilding wellness journey. I hope you'll join me next week. We've got a fresh new topic coming next week. All things rewilding wellness, right? We need a safe place where we can talk about these things. So if you've journaled about this, give me some feedback. Send me your messages. I love talking and love communicating and love connecting. So I'd love to hear from all of you. All right. Until next time, I'm sending you all so much love. Have a beautiful evening.